welcome, if you will, Johnny Ortiz. Sergio Avelar. Kevin Costner. Duran, Caro. Pratts. And Duran. Just a quick warm-up question. Well, we're going to start with you, Johnny. So you got to meet your real-life counterpart, right? What was that experience like, and how did that inform your acting and your role in the movie?
Well, my character actually didn't get to me. He was actually in the military, serving. He's still in the military. I heard he's coming tomorrow on the night to the premiere. So I don't know that much about him, but I did talk to Niki, who gave me the directions and how she wanted it. And going through the role, it's a beautiful role because it's about a young kid, growing up by himself, and he goes through a struggle, and he's just by himself. He's trying to make it in life. He's trying to do something, and how he managed to go to school, go to fields, and all that stuff. But all the characters have something in common because they all come from a different background, which show that this is happening out there. This is what happened, and it's just beautiful seeing this come to life.
That's great. Sergio, what was it like filming in McFarland, and what do you think it meant to the people of the town there?
I think, it was, honestly, it was just surreal coming from, McFarland, and everyone talking about that they're going to be making a movie, and it never happened, and then, here comes Disney and, a great director like Niki, Caro, to, start the film process, and I mean, it was just so surreal, especially filming out there. You see, when we're out there on set, hundreds of people out there just going and supporting just the film, and it was just so surreal.
And Carlos, talk for a minute, if you will, about the training that you had to go through to become a cross-country runner.
First off, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here and go McFarland USA. As far as training, we all know diets are horrible. But yeah, I would say in the mornings we went to Santa Clarita and I'd run like 5 or 6 miles with these guys, and I cried more than I cried when I saw Bambi. But Sergio, being a runner from McFarland, really helped me out, and as well as Hector and Johnny and everyone. And so we do that, then we would go to the studio and rehearse the film. And then after that, I would make the fun drive in the Hyundai Elantra which I'm very thankful for because my car was in a bad place, thank you Disney. And I'd make the fun drive to Redondo Beach, and at Redondo Beach I would then go through a lot of pain from the great people at Brick Fitness, thank you Brian Gwynn, and he would just help with the strength and then the nutrition and all that. And so for about 3 months I couldn't have a carb, and I didn't wear a shirt in my apartment, so I'm kidding about that part.
Okay, Hector, the big obvious question, what was it like to work with an actor like Kevin Costner?
Well, now that he's in front of me, it's a little more nerve-wracking. No, I'm just kidding. Working with Kevin was obviously an amazing experience. He's such a humble guy, and one of the greatest memories I have on set, which really shows his character for me, was we were on set at like 4 in the morning, and it was really cold outside, and Kevin's like, "Hector, are you cold?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you want my jacket?" And it really showed how much he cares about his fellow actors.
That's great. And then Kevin, for you, sort of the same thing, but in reverse, what was it most appealed to you about playing Coach White?
Appealed to me about playing Jim.
Playing Jim.
Well, I had read this story some time ago. I don't know if it was 10 to 15, 20, I'm 60. So I don't remember how long ago but I had read about it in Sports Illustrated. And I remember being very taken with it. I had lived in the Central Valley in Visalia. I actually played McFarland in high school baseball. But I was taken with the story, and then of course closed the page and moved on with my life. And then this movie came up. And the shining cloud, Niki, Caro, said, "Would you be in this movie?" And it was like, it's so nice to be wanted. I mean, you might think that I get everything I want, I don't. And to be wanted, and for that to match up, was really a nice thing for me. And it was a beautiful thing, actually. And to, play Jim, who, there's these men and women all over America who are affecting our young people. And the relationships that coaches establish with young people is something that carries through their life if it's done right. There's not a lot of Jim Whites, but there are Jim Whites, and he represents the best, really, of the best. And, it's almost biblical. Our children have a hard time listening to their parents, right? There's a moment in time where kids really don't want to hear anything from their parents. But a coach can take on that thing. And if they are of the cloth that Jim White came from, a very graceful, very quiet man who somehow let them know what was possible. What was just possible, not that they were going to get there, but this is possible for you, a goal. And Jim White had just kind of putting the goal out in front of him. Look what happened. Champions. Look, they exceeded beyond their expectations. So it's a great lesson to us, McFarland, that if we give our children, our young men, our young women goals, we let them see what's possible, they can exceed beyond their own wildest expectations. And it's just a very good lesson in this movie. So I was proud to play the essence of Jim White. I'm not Jim White. I think we'd all like to be Jim White in some way. But it was a pleasure to be able to do that, kind of from that Sports Illustrated article, make this giant circle to actually being in the movie. I mean, that feels like a movie, doesn't it?
And Niki, so what was it about the story and that attracted you to the story and sort of fits with your filmmaking sensibility?
I was inspired, simple as that, and not only and just by Jim White and the original team and the scale of their achievement and the legacy that they left and the legacy that goes on, but I was really inspired by the people, by how hard they work, by their commitment to their families, their faith, their community. And it was great for me to be able to light that up. In films that I've made previously, I really enjoy, I get a big kick out of it, actually working with real communities. And this is a real story. It really is. You drive to McFarland, you'll see a bunch of people you see on screen. It'll look like it does on screen. And that's deeply satisfying to me, to go in and tell a story that is not only meaningful but is true and real, and tell it with the real people. And then if that weren't enough, to go in with the likes of these people. This has been a deeply, deeply satisfying experience for me, and I hope it will be for the audience too.
Great, thank you. Let's open it up to the floor right here.
Sergio, can you talk a little bit, it sounds like your story is almost a movie by itself, that you haven't acted before, but get a film that's about your hometown. Can you just talk about how you got involved? Or?
Yeah, man. Actually, my cousin gave my mother a phone call saying that there's an open casting call, and it was actually in Bakersfield, which is 30 miles south of McFarland. And he said, tell Junior to go out there to, see if he could get the movie. And I thought of it as a joke, like, they're not gonna get guys from, the locals. They're gonna try to get the guys that can act, because acting was never, I never thought of it. Never came to mind. And next thing you know, I was just getting, callbacks on to go and, to talk to the casting directors, that way they could get to know me a little more and things like that. And then there was a hiatus of it was about 1.5 years or so, and I didn't hear anything about it. And, next thing you know, I get this call from the casting office, and they say, would you like to continue the process on to trying to get to the movie, to try to get back into the movie of McFarland? And I was like, oh yes, like I completely forgot about it. And, next thing you know, coming out here to the auditions, and it was very nerve-wracking because I was going up against these actors, and I've never acted in my life. I never took drama classes or anything like that. So I thought I was no way into competing with these guys. So next thing you know, I'm at work, And I get a call from Niki, you know, and she's like, oh, this is Niki Caro from McFarland, and I was wondering if, you know, you would want to work on this project McFarland. Oh my gosh, that was the best phone call. I just jumped up and down. I ran inside the job that I had, and I was like, oh my God, I got the movie. Congratulating me, I mean, but it was, you know, it's amazing. You know, I thank everyone. So.
He's actually the fastest runner too.
Fact.
Here on the left.
Hi, everybody. Congratulations on the film. It's really a beautiful film, very powerful. I was wondering, you guys have it's so obvious, your bond is so strong in the movie. What did you do, either on set or off set, to kind of create that bond?
I think what really helped us bond with each other was our training prior to us filming. We had to train for a whole month, and every day, like Carlos said, we would go out, run 5 or 6 miles, and then we'd do even more workouts. But through that process, we were able to get to know each other, you know, shower together.
I don't know about that.
They must have cut that from the movie.
But we really did get to know who each other were and what our limits were and how to mess with each other. So that's the chemistry you see.
Yeah, can I just speak to that a little bit? I credit a lot of that with, I give Kevin credit for a lot of that. Continues to be so generous to these boys. Amazing. And, you know, continually prop them up was their coach in many ways. You know, me and my team got them prepared physically and dramatically, but what you see on that screen, the closeness of that team and that coach is real. And it is due to Kevin's generosity and tenderness, enthusiasm for these amazing kids. That has given this movie something special. You know, when I called cut, it didn't stop. It's ongoing. You could see.
Well, you know, that's very generous of you to say. It really is. But it bears saying, you know, that Niki bought a lowrider car. So she completely immersed herself in this culture. But it also it's a style that Niki does, which is she trusts the people that she's going to film, and that's why she could, you know, trust in the idea of Sergio. And that, even though that doesn't get translated into conversation, it's not lost on anybody that she trusts the members of this community to be able to work in the movie and to be great. And that's a kind of thing that gets unspoken, but in a way it's the DNA of how she works. She is very willing to go with someone who grew up on those streets, who had their own dreams, and then to make that phone call, the phone call that Niki was able to make. You have no idea, that phone call changes lives. You know, there are you know, there's 100 hearts that broke, and there's like 8 hearts that just, their lives get a chance to change because of the phone call that Niki makes, the trust that she has in the face, the words she heard spoken back to her. But you know, Niki was really our leader. I was a player on the court for her. You know.
Lucky am I.
But she was our leader, and it was, and boy, you know, she's like a piece of steel. You know, she is gentle, but she's going to get her movie, and she protects her cast and her story. And it's really nice to see that. With Niki, there's no committee, and it's nice. She's our boss.
In the front row over on the right.
Hi, great job, everybody. Kevin, I wanted to ask you, you were speaking earlier about the coaches and the importance and how special someone like Jim White is, and you know how they're not always out there, but when they are, it's really wonderful. I was wondering for you, since you did play sports in your youth, did you have a Jim White-like coach in your life, and can you talk about that experience? And Niki, I wanted to ask you about the title at McFarland USA. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I've had two coaches. One was from Visalia, his name was Jim Barnett, he was a baseball coach. And he was a real help to me in a lot of ways. But there was a man that was very powerful, and I still use his name as my name when I register in hotels. His name is Joe Vaughn, and he's the winningest basketball coach in the state of California for girls basketball. I was the last team he coached the boys. Maybe he was sick of us. But you know, he was the kind of person. I remember I started to get in just a little bit of trouble in high school, and he just took me off to the side. He said, "I heard you." He said, "I thought you were a Jesus man. I thought you were a Jesus man." And I remember I just looked at him and I was like. I started crying, you know, it's like the guy that I really respected, you know, felt like I felt like I had disappointed him, and I kind of got my act together, and instead of making that why, I came back to center. You know, I was always listening to my father more than anyone. I was always afraid of my father more than anyone. But there's a moment in time where, you know, other men in your life can have a huge impact. And so Joe Vaughn did, and you know, now you almost don't know what to say to kids because you could be dragged into court, you know. But here's, you know, somebody that took me around the corner and said, "Look, I think you can be better than maybe who you're hanging out with, or maybe what you're doing." And I remember tearing up and going, "I think I can too." Does this mean I still get to start on the team? Because yes, you do. So.
But now everybody knows your hotel alias. In the center here.
Hi, Mr. Kevin, I have two questions for you. The first one is, well, what did you learn about Mexican people, about Mexican crowd after the movie? And the second one is, well, last Monday you received a special award, and now, well, I imagine you're struggling with a personal loss in your close circle of friends, right? Can you explain me about this?
What was the second half of the question? What was the second half of the question? Because it's real echoey for me, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. I said that the last Monday you won...
Just put that thing down and just talk to me.
Okay. Last Monday you won a special award, and now I imagine you're struggling against a personal loss in your circle of friends. So can you talk about?
He said last Monday you won an award and now you're struggling with a loss in your circle of friends. Can you explain how that feels?
I don't really understand. Let me just say this. I've grown up in Ventura and also in Visalia, and I've driven down these roads, and I saw people working in those fields. I played and fought and had friends where their families were pickers in Satacoy, California, a little Mexican barrio school that I went to. But again, I didn't invest the way I did until Niki brought me this movie. And bending down to work and seeing a field go forever and understanding that this is forever. This is every week. This is every day in all kinds of weather. The appreciation of who these people are. This is as American story as you can possibly have. There's no, you think apple pie and baseball is American? No. McFarland is way more American than any of those things. Those are pastimes. What's American? Maybe I'm going to get real sentimental here because it's going to be.
Sorry.
How's this feel? Maybe somebody didn't want to hear this answer. But there is no more American story than parents who are willing to do anything to better their children, to give their children a chance. There's nothing more American. And it's been playing out over the last 300 years here. And so McFarland is not some weird little town, you know, like, oh, poor McFarland. Poor McFarland, no. Number one, there's a mythology around McFarland because their lives changed when they understood that they could be champions, and repeat that idea. But the simplicity of there's nothing more noble than a father and a mother making an opportunity for their child, knowing that their life is going to be hard. And there's something very noble about that to me. It's something incredibly heroic. And I so apologize for not being able to pick up with the second half of this question, as I'm sorry. But something about I won an award. I've been getting these silly lifetime awards lately. It's like maybe my lifetime is just about over and I'm going to go do something else. But what is he asking me? Do you know?
No, I'm sorry.
All right, good. Well, you and I
Yeah.
we've always understood what we don't understand. Do you know?
And we're starting to run out of time, so we're going to move on.
When we walk outside, you and I will shoot the shit on us.
Hello? Yes, I run marathons, but I've never done cross country, so I have mad respect for the kids featured in this film. So my question's for Johnny, Sergio, Carlos, and Hector. In the movie, your characters, I think, can run 1 mile in 5 minutes or something like that. That's pretty fast. And so, how fast are you compared to the characters? And also, you run also with some Converse on or some crappy shoes before you get the nice shoes. So, were there any injuries during the running thing? Shoes on?
I'll take the first part of this. As far as like how fast I am in comparison to Thomas, well, when we were doing the music video for Juanes Juntos, Give It Up Juntos, they were telling me Juanes wants to run, and I said, that's fine, but make sure he knows that we're going to movie run. So Thomas is light years faster than me, unless there's a taco truck or an ice cream truck in front of me. And I'll pass this on. Oh, and also, Kevin and Niki, super fast, man. Everything Kevin just said and all that. Thank you so much for bringing out our culture. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, and the way that you guys support us. I just want to say thank you on that as well. So.
Here on the line.
He's just being a little bit modest because they had to run. They had to run. There's a hill in that movie. There's no special effects. Those kids, including Danny Diaz, are going up that hill really fast. And the porta potties were at the bottom, and I was at the top. And I made myself run up and down it many times that day, and it's brutal. So, yeah, you don't get to be so modest, actually, Carlos, because they had the goods, and that's them for real, running seriously fast.
Here on the left.
Hi, my name is Jerry. Anyway, you guys just all did fantastic in the film. I absolutely love your performance. But I have a question for Kevin. So you did a lot of different cameras over a lot of different genres. Do you have any character that you have not done yet but you want to do?
No, I've really had I've been able to do a lot of things in the movies. I've been able to run with the Buffalo, I've been able to pitch a perfect game in Yankee Stadium, and in the bathtub with Susan Sarandon. I've got a lot of chance to do a lot of things. And I enjoy sports, but I enjoy sports so much to the point that I wouldn't do a movie unless I thought it had a chance to be good. That's how much I like them. I'm not dying to do a sports thing and have it just look average. And no, I really, there's nothing that I covet out there. I wait for something to come along that really is a clear sound that I can respond to, and I can just really move to it. Not looking for, the next, the next sports movie at all by any stretch. I did 2 sports movies back to back, Field of Dreams and Bull Durham. No one thought that was a smart idea, but those movies separated themselves so much. So if I plan my life so much in advance, I'll miss this. I would have missed McFarland by getting in my mind what I'm going to do in my life. I mean, we all have to have a North Star that we kind of fix on and we go to. But life is so much about the things that bump into you. And, I was really happy and how this really happened. And Niki and I know the story more than anybody, but it's one that I treasure.
All the way around.
Hi.
My question is for Kevin. About culture gap. You have been many countries before, so and this film is also about the culture gap, food and manners and cultures. So what was the kind of biggest culture gap experience now you can laugh about?
This is my lawyer. I play rock and roll, so I don't exactly hear it.
She's talking about cultural differences,
Yeah.
and if there was ever a time when it was really funny, the difference between the two cultures.
Well, Niki made it a point to highlight that from the stuff that was painted on the walls of the first house I go into, which was, and the little restaurant. But, the quinceañera, I think the celebration of America is that these things that our cultures bring to America to highlight, a young girl's coming of age. I'd never been a part of that, never seen that, and yet that was a real highlight for me. It was obviously a movie moment, but to see her come out and dressed up so beautifully, and it's the thing you want as a father, it's the thing you are scared most of as a father. So you realize that, a million Hispanic men have watched their daughters come out only to celebrate this coming of age thing, and how it melds right into America. I mean, this is something that, I don't know anybody in life that doesn't go, I want to do that for my daughter. And of course, that's what happened. My little Caucasian daughter is in a quinceañera. So, and the boys dressed up so, nice, and we had chickens and shit out in Rock and the lights were everywhere. It was it was lovely. It was modest, but it was a single moment. And the community rallied around that, and the neighborhood rallied around that. And of course, the architecture of the movie, then something, dark is happens. And I just really liked all of it. I think Niki's right. The kind of love that these young men and respect they have for their fathers, I don't see that as much in America as you see in the Latino community. It is really something to behold. And so our movie was just completely peppered with that, and it would not have been appropriate without it.
And I'm sorry, this has to be the last question here.
My question is for Kevin, and maybe Niki can chime in too. Kevin, you've been a part of some of my and society's favorite sports movies, and what I love about them is they're about sports, but they're really about so much more. And what it is about a sports movie that allows us to address other issues of the wider society, especially here with McFarland.
I tell you, I think Niki hit on it perfectly. If you want to make a great sports movie, don't put too much sports in it. It's the backdrop. It's the environment. And Bull Durham was about men and women, why they can and can't get along and have to still be together. And so I think in McFarland, I think Niki figured this out really, that yes, the running had to be authentic, and the boys had to work hard, and they didn't have all the facilities that the other teams have, and the idea of going to that last meet where these guys had been building themselves up, and right about that last meet, they look up and they see these big buses with these big schools and these really nice uniforms, and they start to shrink. They start to pull back. And Niki directing me was we weren't going to let them fall back. We were going to have them look these other boys in the eye and know that they're just as good, and in my mind, they're better. And that's what the movie was about. That you're just as good, and if you work harder, you can be better, and you can be more than you think you can. And it's set against the world of cross country that I don't think either one of us knew anything. I hate running. I do not want to have this conference end on a question to me. I'd love it to end. I'd love there to be 2 more questions if we could, and it to be to Niki and to these boys.
I have one for all of them.
Go ahead.
Please, for Johnny, Sergio, and Carlos, and Hector. you know, there are a lot of Latino movies coming up. How do you guys feel that, you know, these movies that are coming up is touching what an immigrant goes through? And how, you know, how you think about your opinion about doing more movies for Latinos, with Latinos?
Got it, Carlos?
Oh, all right, real quick. I mean, I think for the longest time, we as Latinos have always, we just, in general, want to see ourselves in a better light. And now we have that. This film shows us that. And everyone, I mean, I think you look at a Jim White, he's a part of it, and everyone needs a Jim White. And this film is it. This is the truth. And I just can't wait to see more of it out there, because we as Latinos are, you know, Kevin and I are the same. I mean, he's got a lot more money. But the only difference is the color of our skin, and you know, we came into this world the same, and we're going to leave the same.
For me, it's very important that Disney rolls out like this, you know, because it's very important. I mean, coming from a culture, I grew up in Highland Park, and I mean, most of my family members are gangbangers. And coming from that culture, it's had to break that chain, you know. I had to become something in life, and I wanted to change for myself. And Niki, you know, it's been so great for casting in this role. It's beautiful because it shows it shows that why can't we be the doctors, the lawyers, the detectives in the show? Why can't we? I mean, why are we always playing the gangbangers stereotype like that? And this is what Disney's doing now. I'm proud to say that they even did a princess. Disney did a princess called Elena, which is going to be played by Sofia Vergara. And I'm just proud, you know, I'm proud that Niki did this story. Kevin came in the cast and made this shine, and everybody's just, the whole cast and crew was great. And I'm proud to say, us Latinos, let's rise.
Yes, I mean, you know, just from Niki and, you know, from Kevin, Disney, they basically just put a big stepping stone, you know, on Latinos onto the, you know, the acting industry. I mean, I was never really part of it, you know, and now that I stepped into it, you know, it really opened up my eyes that, you know, being with these people and, you know, working with someone like Kevin, you know, big time. I mean, you know, it just really opened up the doors for us. I mean, and just a big stepping stone inside the acting industry for Latinos.
And I feel like this was an amazing opportunity for me, and I know that we all go through struggles in life, no matter what the color of your skin is. And for us Latinos, this is a huge stepping stone, like Sergio said. And I feel like this will open the doors for not only Latinos, but for all other ethnicities that are waiting for their recognition.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Just real quickly, because there's another press conference waiting to come in.
I want to know what it's like, because you're a great director, Kevin's a great director, won the Oscar. I just wonder what it was like working with Kevin, if you were a little good.
Every day was a really good day at the office. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, Bull Durham, if you haven't seen it, see it. If you've seen it, see it again. It was one of my favorite movies, you know, top 5 movies. And you know, look at me, I'm not a sports girl. But, you know, working with Kevin was nothing but a privilege and a pleasure. I'd do it again tomorrow, if you don't mind. And also, you know, working with these guys too. I'm a little uncomfortable. I mean, bless them. They're so happy and grateful to be in this movie, but they're not as grateful as I am to have had the opportunity to work with them and to work on this story and to light this culture up. Because, you know, to your question about sports and movies, the sport was probably the least attractive of all the attractive elements about this. But the idea that these guys, because of the way they live their lives and who they are and their circumstance, they are so strong physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It makes them run. It makes them fly. And that was the idea that propelled me through this storytelling. And they're never happier, you know, such a happy filmmaker. Yeah.
Not a question, but the advice that I've been trying to give these guys all the way through, they say give them good advice. I don't know if that is, but I'm going to give them some very solid advice, and you can be privy to it right now. You know those cool posters that got your faces up there? You should all go get those and make sure those go home with you. And Disney's going to have a much harder time saying no to you now that I've said it in front of all these people. Make sure those in your car and in your rooms, you guys have earned them.